call Q50 slide right here, man.
We do whatever.
This is what they call him slide now, man. We can slide.
He's right there.
Lil Jeff, the ruthless enforcer of the Bloodhounds, lived and rapped about a life defined by violence. But on June 8, 2024, he met the same fate he had delivered to so many others. New footage has surfaced showing the brutal moment. Jeff was shot 19 times and left lifeless on a porch, while his killers continued to fire, ensuring he'd never get back up, as if the execution wasn't enough. Lil Rob, the man rumored to have set Jeff up, was later seen mocking his death online. This story is as ruthless as it gets, and in this video we're breaking it all down. Trap City Rob trolled Lil Jeff after shooting him. Ever since Trap City Rob was identified as the man who gunned down Lil Jeff, his name has been ringing through the Chicago gang rap community. Before that fateful day, Rob was just another member of Trap City, a name known only to those involved in street politics. But on June 8, 2024, everything changed that day. Rob stepped up when a situation involving his homie Man got heated. Man was being hunted by the Bloodhounds, led by Lil Jeff and his right-hand man Q50. In a moment that would define his reputation, Rob pulled the trigger multiple times, hitting Jeff in the chest and putting an end to his reign. Jeff, once feared as a ruthless leader, became another headline in the cycle of Chicago gang violence. But it wasn't just the shooting that made Rob infamous. What happened after is what made him a legend in some circles and a walking target in others. A week after the killing on June 16, 2024, a chirology post surfaced on Reddit. It showed Trap City Rob rocking a custom shirt mocking Lil Jeff's death. The details of the shirt weren't immediately clear, but its message wasn't lost on anyone. The streets caught on instantly. Rob wasn't just celebrating his win, he was rubbing salt in the wound. The clip spread like wildfire. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with reactions, with half of the people hyping up Rob as the realist in the trenches, while the other half warned that this type of overstepping doesn't go unanswered in Chicago gang culture. Disrespecting a fallen rival is common, but Rob took it to another level. Soon more members of Trap City joined in. They started posting clips mocking Jeff's last moment, reenacting the shooting and taunting Q50 for failing to protect his leader. Within hours of the video dropping, Instagram turned into a battleground. Memes of Jeff getting caught slipping flooded the comment sections of popular Chero drill pages. Trap City affiliates posted subliminals aimed at Jeff's crew, some even recreating the scene where he was shot. Q50, the man was supposed to ride for Jeff, became a laughingstock in certain circles for freezing up when it mattered most. One post in particular gained traction, a blurry clip showing Trap City members on a porch laughing, with the caption, "Jeff pulled up but Unk sent him back." That caption set the tone for how Rob would now be viewed in the eyes of the streets. He had officially become Unk, the old head who put in work when the young bulls got reckless. Before all this, Trap City Rob was just another aspiring rapper. He had dropped a few tracks over the years, but none of them really made noise. That changed when his 2020 song "What a Feeling" randomly resurfaced after his name started trending within days. The YouTube views jumped by over 10,000. The comment section turned into a place where fans, haters, and gang watchers debated his status. Some saw Rob as an OG who handled his business, while others believed he was a dead man walking. One of the most popular comments read, "Jeff came to deliver the mail." An unsaid return to sender. The entire situation became entertainment for outsiders, with some even treating gang wars like a sport. One fan labeled Rob as the Defensive Player of the Year, saying, "Protect the porch at all costs." Beyond the jokes, some fans actually started studying Rob's lyrics. One bar stood out to many: "Take care of them children, buy a couple of buildings." Some took this as proof that Rob wasn't just another reckless shooter, he was an OG with wisdom. One person wrote, "Mad respect to Unk, let these young bulls know, learn a lesson, get your priorities straight. Stack your paper and invest. Don't pop pills and crash out. Take care of your kids." This further separated Rob from Jeff in people's minds. Jeff was a young and reckless shooter, while Rob, despite his violent actions, was seen as a man with a code. On June 28, 2024, a new Reddit community called r Trap City Ungang appeared. This wasn't just a fan page, it was a movement. Members of the subreddit labeled themselves as PDN Porch Defender Nation. They made posts listing Rob's 2024 accomplishments. Ops neutralized, porch protected fans worldwide. One person wrote, "When the Bloodhounds start misbehaving, called Team Unk." Some even compared Rob to a neighborhood guardian, a figure who handled business but wasn't reckless. Surprisingly, before he became known as Lil Jeff's Killer Trap, City Rob wasn't widely seen as an aggressor, unlike many other street figures in Chicago's gang culture. Rob had a history of preaching wisdom rather than violence. Members of Unk Gang began digging into his old Facebook posts, where he often spoke about personal growth, life lessons, and avoiding reckless decisions. One of his most popular posts was about his 4-month stint in jail, where he described how the experience humbled him and made him reflect on his future. 4 months, 1 phone call a week. That's all it took for me to realize I was, and trying to go back? You don't know real loneliness until you locked up. And the only thing keeping you sane is prayer and a couple books. For someone now being celebrated as a ruthless shooter, his past words painted a different picture. He wasn't always like this. One of his most disgusted posts resurfaced. Young black men got to do better. Too many of us throw our lives away because we don't know how to talk things out. No conflict resolution, just egos and guns. I ain't trying to tell nobody how to live, but I promise y'all this ain't it. He even criticized drill music, claiming that it had turned violence into a business, while leaving real people dead or jailed. These labels don't care about us. Drill music turned murder into entertainment. The problem is, y'all don't see the game being played until it's too late. This was not the Trap City Rob people saw today, but what changed Rob's transformation from a respected voice to a feared figure may have had deeper roots. Old throwback pictures resurfaced online showing Rob standing alongside Bloodhound Vert and another man. Many assumed the photo was proof that Rob had once been cool with the Bloodhounds, or at least certain members. Still, Lil Rob and Trap City members' actions indicate that the feud with Bloodhounds will not end soon. Inside the gang feud that made Trap City Rob a celebrity in the gritty streets of Chicago. The war between the Bloodhounds and Trap City has been making heartbreaking headlines for a while. This deadly conflict has left a trail of bodies, heartache, and relentless violence. With no end in sight, what started as an alliance between several sets has spiraled into one of the bloodiest gang wars in recent memory, fueled by betrayal, retaliation, and the quest for dominance in both the streets and the drill music scene. Initially, Bloodhound, Trap City, Drill City, and other cliques like 400, East MTV 79, and Chris World were all part of an alliance known as Bloodhounds 679. This pact, forged over a decade ago, was meant to unify these groups under a shared banner, pooling resources and manpower to fend off rival sets. However, this fragile unity began to unravel in 2023. When Drill City members allegedly stole a chain belonging to a Trap City affiliate. The stolen chain, engraved with 67 stalking, was more than jewelry. It symbolized Trap City's territory and pride. Trap City's fury was immediate. The theft not only marked a breach of trust but also sowed seeds of division within the alliance. Other sets began choosing sides, with most siding with Drill City, feeling betrayed. Trap City severed ties with the alliance and declared war. This marked the beginning of a blood feud that would escalate into a brutal cycle of killings. One of the earliest casualties of this feud was Zyman, a Bloodhound affiliate and cousin to rising stars Lil Jeff and Q50. On March 16, 2023, Zani was chilling in a car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street when Trap City members ambushed him. They sprayed the car with bullets, hitting Zan 29 times. According to street rumors, someone in Zyman's circle had dropped his location, leading Trap City straight to him. His death shattered any hope of reconciliation between the groups. Lil Jeff, devastated by his cousin's murder, sought revenge in June 2023. He reportedly gunned down Layla, a beloved Trap City member, while Layla was sitting in an Uber. The retaliation sent shockwaves through Trap City, further solidifying Jeff's reputation as a fearless and vengeful bloodhound. In songs and vlogs, Bloodhounds began dissing Lee out, taunting Trap City over their loss on January 26, 2024. The rivalry reached a boiling point. Montario Monty Drench Williams and Robert Lil Rob, Boston brothers from Nitty Block, were targeted in a brazen daylight attack. The brothers were well-known figures in their gang, and their deaths would send shockwaves through the community. The attack was meticulously planned, with the Acels waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The murder of Monty and Lil Rob was carried out with ruthless efficiency in front of dozens of witnesses and multiple cameras. The brothers were gunned down in a hail of bullets. The audacity of the attack, carried out in broad daylight, was a clear message to Nitty Block and anyone else who dared to challenge the Black Disciples. The streets were left reeling from the sheer brutality of the act. In the days following the murders, Lil Jeff took to social media to post a series of cryptic messages that hinted at his involvement. His Instagram stories were filled with subliminal references to the killings, and his followers quickly picked up on the clues. The posts were a mix of bravado and taunting aimed at both his rivals and his growing fan base. Lil Jeff's music also reflected his involvement in the double homicide. In his songs, he detailed the events leading up to the murders, the motivations behind them, and the aftermath. Tracks like Double Trouble and Street Confessions became anthems in the underground rap scene, with fans dissecting every lyric for clues about the crime. His music was a chilling testament to the violent world he inhabited, and it resonated deeply with those who live similar lives. The double homicide solidified his reputation as a ruthless gangster and a formidable figure in the rap scene, but it also made him a target. The murder set off a chain reaction of violence and retribution, with both sides seeking to avenge their fallen comrades. The streets of Chicago became even more dangerous, and Lil Jeff found himself at the center of the storm. The streets became a war zone, with drive-by shootings, ambushes, and other acts of violence becoming a daily occurrence. The cycle of retribution seemed endless, and the body count continued to rise. Meanwhile, rival gangs were trying to figure out a way to also make their mark, and they did this with the reprisal murder of Little Squirrel, one of Lil Jeff's close friends. They wanted to send a message that no one associated with Lil Jeff was safe. It's clear that Lil Squirrel's murder really affected Lil Jeff despite his hardened exterior. The loss of someone close to him hit hard. Lil Jeff took to social media to express his grief and anger, posting an Instagram story where he claimed that Lil Squirrel was innocent and not a gang member. He accused his enemies of being so emotional that they would kill anybody when they're emotional, urged his followers to stay safe. All my innocent people. This post was a rare glimpse into the more vulnerable side of Lil Jeff, showing that even he was not immune to the pain and loss that came with the gang lifestyle. The murder of Lil Squirrel also intensified the cycle of violence. Lil Jeff's enemies saw the killing as a necessary act of retribution, but it only fueled his desire for revenge. The streets of Chicago became even more dangerous as both sides engaged in a deadly game of tit for tat. Each act of violence was met with another, creating an endless loop of bloodshed, and retribution. Being the leader of the Bloodhounds, Lil Jeff was responsible for many bodies that made him feared on the streets. Lil Jeff's violent reputation before Lil Jeff became a name whispered in fear across Chicago's South Side. He was just another young face in the city's brutal cycle of street warfare. But unlike others who merely participated in the violence, Jeff thrived in it. He wasn't just another gang member, he was a calculated enforcer, a hunter in a city full of prey. By the time he entered the drill scene in late 2022, Jeff wasn't just rapping about murder, he was living it. His debut song, The Bloody Family, featuring J.B. Bin Laden, was an open declaration of war, an anthem for his gang, the Bloodhounds. A month later, he dropped Can't Beat Us, a track where he made one thing clear: I'm really not a rapper. It was more than just a lyric, it was a warning. Jeff wasn't in the booth for the fame, he was there to send a message. As his music gained traction, so did his reputation. But in the streets, Jeff wasn't recognized for his bars, he was feared for his body count. By the time Jeff's name was making rounds in the drill scene, he had already earned a sinister nickname in the streets: the Pistol Professor. It wasn't just because he carried a gun, it was because he taught lessons with it. His alleged list of victims reads like a hit list from a war zone: Rob from Trap City, Monty Drench Williams, Leal from Trap City Gutter from Hit Squad, Slide from 79 Clay, from 95 Boogie, from 95 Mob, Baby, KD from the East Side. East's name represented a life taken, a message sent. But Jeff's legacy of violence didn't start when he was famous. According to rumors, he was catching bodies before he was even a teenager. Back in September 2014, an 18-year-old named Kamal Burton, aka Emily Ma, was shot dead in the far south side of Chicago. He was an affiliate of the Ho Mob, and his murder seemed like just another statistic in a city drowning in bloodshed. But the whispers on the streets told a different story. According to hood rumors, Molly Ma's killer wasn't an older gang member or a seasoned shooter. It was a 12-year-old kid named Lil Jeff at the time. Jeff was still just a boy, a kid with hoop dreams, spending his days practicing jump shots instead of drilling his eye. The idea of a scrawny 12-year-old pulling the trigger on an 18-year-old gang member sounded impossible. But in Chicago, nothing is impossible. Even though no solid evidence ever surfaced, the rumor alone gave Jeff a certain mythical aura. If people feared him before, now they saw him as something else entirely: a monster in a child's body. As the years passed, Jeff's name began popping up more and more in street chatter. Whenever bodies dropped in May 20,000, 121 a crew hit squad member named Lil Gutter was killed and people whispered that Jeff had something to do with it. Then, in March 2022, an OG from Evans mob named Roger Lewis Black was gunned down in a drive-by. The streets debated whether Jeff was involved, but this time an official suspect was already charged in serving time. Still, his name being thrown around so casually spoke volumes. By 2022, Jeff had suffered his own loss. His close friend, Gene, lost in aka J-Mo, was killed, and some say this was the moment he fully embraced his dark side. After J-Mo's death, Jeff reportedly committed his first confirmed murder. The streets took notice by 2023. Jeff was no longer just a rising rapper. He was a feared name in Chicago's gang world. When his cousin Zoni was gunned down in March 2023, Jeff wasted no time seeking revenge. His first major publicized hit came on June 25, 2023. The victim, Leal, a well-known member of Trap City Leal, whose real name was Jaleel Goss, wasn't in the trenches when he died. He wasn't on the block throwing up by gang signs or flashing guns. Instead, he was sitting in an Uber in one of the safest neighborhoods in Chicago, Little Italy, an area filled with gentrified apartments and trendy coffee shops. But death doesn't check zip codes before it comes knocking. While Lal sat in the rideshare, a masked figure approached his window and let off a barrage of gunfire. The shooter disappeared into the night, leaving L bleeding out in the back seat as the terrified Uber driver sped to the nearest hospital. By the time they arrived, Lael was already dead the very next day as Lael's family mourned his loss. Jeff and his crew dropped a song. It was a remix of Lil Yin's track Coffin, but Jeff's version had a chilling twist. The title alone felt like a direct reference to Lael's murder. And in the music video, Jeff's right-hand man, Q50, held up a picture of Zoni almost as if mocking Trap City for what was coming next. The message was clear. You took one of ours, now we've taken one of yours, and we're not done yet, Jeff. Jeff didn't just kill, he enjoyed it. In a viral video circulating on Reddit, he was seen joking about killing a friend, pointing a gun at him for laughs. When someone dies in the streets, most people at least pretend to show remorse. Not Jeff. Whenever one of his alleged victims was mentioned online, he jumped in the comments to laugh. When Pierre Lil Poo Booza Jr., a rumored Trap City affiliate, was gunned down, a Chicago drill fan page paid tribute to him on Instagram. Jeff hopped in the comments and said, "That boy was dissing Zoni, now look at him." For Jeff, murder wasn't a tragedy, it was a scoreboard. But Jeff wasn't born a monster. He was a product of his environment, a city where bullets fly like raindrops and survival means picking up a gun before your enemies do. His father, Jeffrey Harris Sr., was rumored to be in the streets before him, affiliated with the 68C Block gang. But Jeff never knew him. His father was either dead, locked up, or gone. His older brother, Jay Boogie, was in the streets too. Jeff grew up watching his brother move like a real gangster. And when the time came, he followed in his footsteps. Even his mother co-signed his violence. A viral Instagram DM surfaced after Jeff's death, allegedly from his mom praising him for his actions. "Go ahead, son, your name ringing bells in the streets." I said, "Is that my boy?" She even admitted she loved seeing him slide on kids who used to sleep in the same bed as him. That's the kind of upbringing Jeff had. As time passed, Jeff fully embraced his reputation. He wasn't just beefing with rivals. He was killing kids he grew up with, kids he once called friends, and he didn't care. However, after years of being a terror on the streets with his parents' support, Lil Jeff was killed. Most fittingly, Lil Jeff's death. Lil Jeff had always lived by the gun. And as he often rapped, he was ready to die by it too. But when the day finally came, it wasn't a legendary last stand or a well-executed drill. It was a chaotic, reckless mission going terribly wrong. It was June 8, 2024, and Jeff was on yet another mission for Jeff. And his right-hand man Q50 pulling up on their ops wasn't just about revenge, it was about maintaining their reputation. The duo were the face of the Bloodhounds, a gang that had built its name off relentless violence, ruthless retaliation, and drill music that blurred the line between rap and reality. But this time the hunters became the hunted. The plan seemed simple enough. Jeff Q50 and another mass shooter had loaded up in a car driving down South Rhodes Avenue, a street they had about shooting up countless times before. Their target was Man, an enemy Jeff had likely been waiting to catch slipping the leaked surveillance footage. Tells the story at the top left of the frame. You can see a car door opening. Jeff jumps out, gun already drawn, and immediately starts firing the man in yellow. Shorts, later identified as Man ducks behind a car, then sprints toward a house. Jeff wasn't letting him get away as Man ran up the steps and into the house. Jeff did what he had always racked about. He chased an Opie into their own home, gun blazing. But this time he wasn't the only one. Ready for war, as Jeff sprinted toward the porch, a second gunman inside the house took position and opened fire. Bullets tore through Jeff's body, sending him stumbling back. He collapsed at the bottom of the porch, helpless, his gun still in hand but useless now. In the chaos, his killers emptied an entire magazine into him, making sure he was gone for good. By the time Jeff hit the ground, he had been shot 19 times. He wasn't getting back up, as Jeff's body lay motionless. Q50 and the other shooter finally realized what had just happened. Instead of immediately retreating, they rushed forward, guns blazing, trying to fire back. The footage shows Q50 shooting wildly at a passing car. Some believe it belonged to someone linked to Man. The second shooter returning fire at the house, but the enemy was already in cover. Q50 slipping and falling while trying to fire shots, injuring his ankle in the process. The getaway driver, watching the chaos unfold, made a chilling realization. Jeff was dead at that moment. The mission was officially over. The survivors ran back to the car, leaving Jeff behind as bullets continued tearing into his light body. But the day wasn't over yet. The shootout left behind a staggering 58 shell casings. By the time the police scanner audio picked up reports of the shooting, the crime scene was a war zone. Chicago PD arrived, marking each casing, trying to piece together the shootout that had just unfolded, but there was one thing missing. Jeff's body. In a move that shocked even the streets, Q50 and the other shooter somehow managed to spin the block and return to the scene. They dragged Jeff's bullet-riddled body from the porch. They rushed him to the hospital, despite knowing it was far too late. A viral image later surfaced online, showing Q50 and the other shooter carrying Jeff into the ER, one of the last images of the feared bloodhound leader, but there was no saving him. Lil Jeff, the pistol professor, the self-proclaimed demon of Chicago, was officially gone. As news of Jeff's death broke, Reddit's shy subreddit exploded with footage and theories. Some said Jeff and the bloodhounds underestimated their opposition. Others called it a perfect example of how drill music gets people killed. A few pointed out the tragic irony. Jeff died doing exactly what he had glorified in his music. From Twitter to YouTube, people debated whether this was karma, fate, or just another day in Chicago's never-ending cycle of violence. But one thing was certain: Lil Jeff was finally on the other side of the gun. For more content like this, click on the video showing on your screen now.